The NBA draft is in the books, and it was a kind of busy night for the Sacramento Kings, moving some stuff around. They came into tonight with the 24th pick in the draft. You're wondering, what are they going to do? Are they going to take a big swing?
Stack draft.
Find someone that can help win now. Could it be Chris Murray? Trace Jackson Davis? Well, at the 23rd pick, Portland takes Chris Murray. It's like, okay, could they go Leonard Miller here? No. They trade the pick. They trade the 24th pick along with Richaun Holmes to the Dallas Mavericks for pretty much cap space. And it looks like you're going to have upwards of $30 million in cap space this offseason. You know, it's always tough when you got to package a first-round pick with a player to get rid of that player. And Richaun's deal is not terrible, but when he makes $12 million this year, has an option for $12 the next year, has been unproductive, especially last year, just not in the Kings' rotation.
Right.
It's tough to clear that space, and they decide to use their 24th pick in the draft to do it. And now, to me, it's all about, all right, how do they use this space? Like, what are they going to do in free agency? I think the first thing that comes to mind is it Kyle Kuzma? Is it maybe a Jeremy Grant, depending on what the Blazers choose as a path with all the Dame Lillard drama going?
Oh my God.
But that's what they decided to do with that first round pick, package it and send Richaun to Dallas.
Yeah, and I think my first thought was, wow, what are we doing? It's a stacked draft. I mean,
there's some depth here. Yeah, can you find a player?
Get something that was going to work? And then it went straight to, okay, salary dump. Now, once my mind took that journey to salary dump, I go, ooh, okay, they're looking for an already established player in free agency. And you're looking at the Sacramento Kings and their reputation around the league, and it feels more optimistic on who they could possibly get to come to Sacramento.
Which hasn't been the case in years. Like, you're not a free agent draw. And I think that's probably the concern. This one to me is like, well, let's wait and see what they do in free agency.
There we go.
There's some talk that Sabonis extension could be coming. There's even some talk about Harrison Barnes coming back. But like those, you don't have to clear cap space to do that. Those are your guys you can bring back. I'm more curious like, how they use this money to go get a guy. And do they have the capability to go get, I know the capability, but does Kyle Kuzma have the want to be in Sacramento and play here? And is that the player you want to use your cap space on?
Without overpaying.
Jeremy Grant is a guy I like a lot. I know he's 29 years old. His situation, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about the Blazers because they draft Scoot Henderson, Chris Murray. Like, what's Dame want? I feel like they're going down a different path. Maybe Jeremy Grant goes, I'll just go somewhere where I can get paid and win. I go, that guy's a perfect fit. He can defend multiple positions. He's long. He can get buckets. He's a vet. But I do like Kyle Kuzma a lot too. I think the Kings are going to have some options. So to me, this move is like a wait and see. It's just going to be tough if you do miss out on those guys. You go, I got this cap space, and I hate just using cap space to use cap space. Now, another thing with cap space we should mention, it allows you to make a trade to take on a player. You can absorb a player's contract. So it gives you some flexibility there. But I think all of Kings fans are waiting to see what the hell this looks like in a couple weeks.
And that's where we're at. The wait and see situation right now with that cap space. But going back to that whole situation, because I do want to just give Richaun Holmes some love. I think he can still add to a lot of squads in this league.
I do too.
There's value to his game, especially in the pick and roll, especially with that push shot. You think about now him and Luka together maybe in that pick and roll, what that could mean for the Dallas Mavericks. I'm just excited that he will get back on the floor, get some NBA minutes again, because he's such a good guy. He kept his head up all season long. And so for the Kings to do that and package him with a first-round pick, I'm happy that it's done and that now he will be in a different home.
And Dallas needs some size. You know, they take Derek Lively with the 12th pick, but, you know, he's raw. I imagine Rashawn's going to get an opportunity, and you're right. Could he find himself again as a player in the league and be a rotational piece? It's weird how his career path went in Sacramento. Like, he had an incredible chemistry with Tyrese Halliburton here in the contract extension. You're right, that push shot, dude, that was like unbelievable.
It was unstoppable.
But I think about, he had the eye injury, he had some off-court like family stuff going on. There's just a lot going on. And then they trade Halliburton, who was like, he was super connected with. And then in the trade, they trade for a guy who plays his position, who's an all-star, and Domantas Sabonis. Dude, that's a lot to process and to deal with. And then I just felt like he could never find Mike Brown's trust in Sacramento.
Yeah.
So I credit the Kings for putting him in a spot where he gets an opportunity.
Agreed.
Because Richaun's just a great guy, dude. This guy's grinding the league. I'm always going to be a fan of him because I just look at him as a guy that appreciated the city, appreciated the fans. Much respect to Richaun Holmes.
So now, during our entire NBA draft watch party, we're obviously live with some of our draft gurus, Praneel and Bryant, and they were very disappointed in that moment. And they said, okay, well, maybe if the Kings with their second round pick get Leonard Miller, then we will be happy. We will be okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case, but they did draft somebody.
Yeah, and they had the situation for the Kings in the second round is they had the 38th pick.
Oh, yes.
They end up trading up 4 spots with Boston. So they trade 38 and a future second round pick to move to 34. Unfortunately, their guy, Bryant and Praneel's guy, Leonard Miller, goes 33 to Minnesota, who traded up to get him. The Kings take Colby Jones out of Xavier. Man, I'll tell you, reading about him,
He's
seeing
perfect for
his game,
Sacramento.
you're like, oh, this guy's a winner. This guy's a dog. 6'5", 6'8" wingspan, likes to defend.
Yep.
And Sam Vecini had him ranked 27th overall in his mock draft.
First rounder.
The Ringer KOC had him 29th overall.
Wow.
And they both like complimented what he's capable of at the next level. I'm going to read a couple of things.
Okay.
First from KOC. Calls him a team player with NBA-ready qualities as a connective piece on offense and a versatile defender.
Okay.
Talks about his high IQ. Some of the pluses for him, his float game, pull-up threat, catch-and-shoot threat, and got that dog in him.
I love that.
Soft touch on layups, floaters, and post hooks. Though his shooting numbers have been slow to develop, these are positive indicators of improvement. He's ready to contribute attacking closeouts, rumbling toward the rim, off handoffs, or running some pick and rolls. Intelligent player with the team concept. He keeps the ball moving, relocates to get himself open, and makes attentive cuts to the basket.
That right there, when you want to talk about the Kings offense, the freedom to it with all these different actions, and you think about a guy that's a willing cutter and has that motor to move without the basketball, that is Colby Jones. And he understands the timing because he is a high IQ player. He can also, make the shot and from the outside on catch and shoot threes, 43% last season. I'm really excited about this as well because I know he's 6'6" is what they're saying, but then I saw something that he's like 6'4" without shoes on, which I always think.
Well, it's good news. You don't play the game without shoes on.
You don't. You play with shoes on. So he is going to be 6'6" out there on the floor. We saw some photos that were posted out about him after.
NBA body. The guy's ripped. The guy is strong. He looks great. The other thing that KOC talked about was he's a relentless defender who doesn't let his offense dictate his effort. He flourishes dodging screens to stick to opponents, chasing down every rebounding opportunity, thriving as a roamer off ball. He doesn't back down no matter how often he gets hit in the face, which seemingly happens every game.
Happens with his teammate.
So he spends 3 years playing college. He's 21 years old. Last year, averaged 15 points a game, nearly 6 rebounds a game, 4.4 assists on 51% shooting, and just under 38% from three. The free throw shooting, not great, 65%. So that's something to watch.
But go back to those rebounds.
Yeah.
So he also crashes the glass, right? Like someone that's willing to move around, that will play on both ends of the floor, but that will also be flying in there, grabbing some boards.
So I just look at him as a guy that could fit in right away. I mean, wait, you're going to move off ball. You're going to play with the ball. You're going to cut. You're going to be aggressive defensively. Decent wingspan for a 6'6" guy. NBA body.
Yes.
He's strong. I just feel like he can play right away. And you go, what's his role? Well, there's opportunity here. Like this offseason is long. You don't know what else can happen, but Terrence Davis could be gone. Is he end up being that like backup ball handler instead of Davion Mitchell? He's been compared a little bit to Malcolm Brogdon in a way. Some people have said shades of Derek White and Josh Hart. Either way, I just look at this guy and go, oh, he's like a winning player. And when you've got guys with a winning mentality who want to get out there, defend, share the ball, to me, I feel like he sounds like a perfect fit for the Sacramento Kings, and you get him with the 34th pick overall.
And that's what's so interesting, too, when you look at the second round of the NBA draft and with the new CBA, you go, oh, okay, maybe a lot of these guys are going to be
on a two-way contract.
Thank
maybe?
you.
They
I
have
was
3
like,
two-way spots, yeah.
That's my point. So, it doesn't feel like Colby Jones is going to be one of those guys with his NBA ready qualities, everything that we already have talked about. So I'm excited to have someone with the Sacramento Kings that can actually find a way into the rotation. Also, there's going to be adjustments to what the rotation is now with some of these guards.
So he seems like a guy that could fit. I'm excited to see him in Summer League, play in the California Classic, play in Vegas. We got to get to the rest and drafts in just a second, but we should mention that tonight's podcast presented by our buddy Sean Stanfield over at rate.com/Sean Stanfield. Sean and his team can make sure you get the house of your dreams. If you're looking for a house, it could be a hard process. You can't afford to buy one.
That's how people ask the question. What's the other question they ask?
Does it make sense to do it now?
Yeah, and they ask just like that. So instead of asking us like that, please just go ask Sean Stanfield, please, because he'll answer you no matter what you sound like.
His team over at rate.com/Sean Stanfield, guaranteed rate. They can walk you through the process and make sure it's an easy one. He has helped many of our podcast listeners with the process. So hit him up today at his website. I mentioned rate.com/Sean Stanfield. You can also call or text him at 916-276-7563. 916-276-7563. That's Equal Housing Lender, subject to credit approval. NMLS ID number 349707. Company NMLS ID number 2611. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Thanks so much to our friends over at
Guarantee.
Right.
Guarantee.
Right.
We're also presented by a New York Times bestselling author, the one and only T.R. Reagan.
Oh, she's writing another book right now. She is a crazy lady. Let me tell you, I've read so many of her books now, and I am addicted to them. And at first I was always like, oh, why am I going to read my mom's books? Like, I'm not going to like them. It's my mother's writing. Millions of people have read her books. And millions. And so finally I said, okay, I'll go and read them. It's the off season. Why not? It's been the best summer read. If you're looking for a good summer read, a thriller, a scary ass thriller, go check out trreagan.com. You can see all of her books there, or just search on amazon.com TR Reagan.
The Kings also had the 54th pick of the NBA draft, and Trace Jackson Davis was on the board. Some people want him at 24.
Yeah.
And people are like, could he be there at 38? Well, he was on the board at 54. He ends up being passed over by the Kings.
Yeah.
Trace Jackson Davis ends up being with the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Kings select Jalen Slawson from Furman. This guy spent 5 years playing college basketball at Furman.
24 going into his first NBA season.
Like, if this guy can't play, like, it's not like, oh, hey, he's got a lot of room to grow. I mean,
He's got to be mature right now. And from what it sounds like, he probably is. He's 6'7" and has
the wingspan,
Yes.
almost a 7-foot wingspan, 6'11" and 3/4. I want to read Sam Vecini's breakdown of him, because we're talking about a guy who played at Furman. We're not breaking down Furman, all right? And I want to read you Bobby Gerald. Bobby Gerald, G-Man's son, the voice of the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
He pays attention to the NBA draft like no other. Like, he watches all of this stuff. His breakdown before the draft on Jalen Slawson, who the Kings got, 6'7", 6'11", 3/4 wingspan. He writes, in our opinion, I'm getting choked up thinking about it. We did a 5-hour stream. I'm losing my voice, I think.
Well, take a sip of water
No,
so you can read in Hoops Obsession's opinion.
In our opinion, he writes, Slawson is the most overlooked player in this draft.
Whoa.
He's a versatile forward that plays defense well and is improving as a wing shooter. He wonders, I don't know if people are dwelling on his seemingly below average running and jumping ability, 33-inch max vert. Slawson averaged 15.6 points, 7 rebounds, 3.2 assists last year, shot 39% from three-point range, 77.5% from the free throw line. He mentions his wingspan, won the SoCon Defensive Player of the Year. He's right-handed, and he's definitely not left-handed, according to many people.
There you go.
He wrote before the draft, "We doubt Slawson will be drafted. In our opinion, that will prove to be the worst decision of the 2023
Whoa.
draft if it happens. Slawson is a player. He has positional size. He shoots it. He defends. He shares. We view him as a potential top-tier small forward in the NBA." Look, that's some high praise there.
Yeah, it is.
And it doesn't mean Bobby's right, but he pays attention.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of love for Jalen Slawson. And he's not the only one giving him love either.
Yeah, and that's what I love, because obviously when you start to see a guy, then you start going to some of their mixtapes, some of their highlights. But I think one of my favorite things so far about everything that Bobby Gerald said, and then what I've seen from Slawson, is how he seems to really be that high IQ player that everyone talks about. His ability to defend the corner, but then rotate over to still come over and try and protect the rim. Like, he's just a smart guy that understands his timing. I love what Bobby had to say about him.
Sam Vecini, who covers the NBA draft for The Athletic, does probably the most comprehensive draft guide you will ever read. This guy dives into details. We're talking about parents, where they were. I mean, it's pretty intense.
Social security numbers.
But for a guy, he had ranked 56 in his draft rundown.
Yeah.
He has a ton of information on this guy, and I wanted to share some of his strengths with everybody out there, especially people who maybe don't subscribe to The Athletic. He's talking about how he is 6'7", 6 foot 11 3/4 wingspan, 8'10" standing reach, which he believes should allow him to slide down to the 4 in the NBA. Says he's a good vertical athlete. He's a bit more pop functionally than his raw testing numbers would indicate. He said he was a consistent dunking presence all over the SoCon, posting 49 dunks on the season. Talked about how he's a functional athlete vertically because of his ability to really jump off 1 foot. He says he is best right now on defense, where his instincts and his anticipation are superb. Yes. A great team defender. Excellent shot blocker on the basket as a weak side help man. Great at rotating across the play and making his presence felt down there. Has good cleanup instincts for when his teammates get beat. Very timely, knows when and where he must be in a spot to use his length and bounce. Reads the play early. Always on time, closing out his man. Knows when to go for steals to try to transition defense to offense. Communicates well on the defensive end. Just a sharp player you can rely on. Thinks Slawson's also a good on-ball defender as a player who might be able to switch 2 through 4 at the NBA level.
Love.
That's high praise.
It's high praise, especially when you're talking about him defensively and what he's capable of doing, but being a smart defender, being in the right place at the right time, being able to meet guys at the rim, but also being able to come out on guys. And that's the other thing that I saw too, is that some bigger guys would try and post up on him, but he can hold his own as well. So even if he is a little undersized when he's...
But that length helps.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Love that.
A couple of notes offensively we should point out about Slawson. He's best right now as a passer and a playmaker. He notes that sometimes he'd lead the break after grabbing a rebound. That's like Sabonis does on those bust outs we talk about so often.
And he can push it. Yeah.
Other times, Furman used him as a trailing point forward to initiate their offense and get sets going.
Hell yeah.
You think about the Kings searching like for additional playmakers
Yeah.
with some size. Well, it sounds like he may check some of those boxes if he's ready to go. Vecini mentions he dished out 3.2 assists per game after averaging 3.7 the year before. He said Slawson was tremendous at reading 45 cutters and baseline cutters from the top of the key. Also would use his eyes and ball fakes to manipulate the defense to try to get defenders going one way or another. Finally, he really likes Slawson as a general play finisher. Was an absurd finisher in the SoCon where nobody could match his athleticism. Made 73.2% of his attempts at the rim overall in the league, and even made 70% of his half-court attempts power leaper.
Okay.
So his summary, to sum it all up,
Okay.
Slawson's a guy I'm intrigued by on a two-way contract because I think he just really knows how to play and plays a significant position of value. It might take Slawson a minute to get to the NBA, but my guess is that pathway would be easier due to the advent of the two-way contract. He still has a lot to work on to do on his shot. He needs to develop that left hand, but I like Slawson's instincts. I love how functional his athleticism is. This is a priority two-way player for me, even if the flaws can't quite get me to the full-scale guarantee.
That's fine.
So a lot heavy breakdown on Jalen
Yes.
Slawson there from Sam Vecini, but some insight on him, and you go, okay. Like, you take a chance like that with the 54th pick, maybe give him a two-way deal. Sure.
Yeah, you dump salary. We've already talked about everything Colby Jones can do and what he's capable of just as a smart player and having some of those NBA ready characteristics. And then you just go deep into the draft to Jalen Slawson, who truly, with reading all these things about him, you go, this is perfect for the Sacramento Kings, even if it means a two-way contract.
Sure.
Like obviously, we don't know how his game's going to translate as a 24-year-old in
But another
the
guy
NBA
I'm
right
like,
now.
can't wait to see in Summer League.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying.
what's he look like? So, yeah, you take some swings there, especially at that 54 spot. I'm intrigued to see what he looks like.
Yep.
If he can live up to Bobby Gerald's potential, that would be crazy. And Bobby Gerald should get hired for like a front office job if he's right on that. Like, you know, with his breakdown, that would be pretty crazy. So the draft is in the books for the Kings. Next up is free agency. A couple of things I wanted to bring up real fast before we end this. And we're going to have a ton of coverage podcast-wise coming up for people. Richaun Holmes, gone. That's a center off your roster. Neemias Queta in flux.
Yep.
That's a big on your roster. Alex Len, a free agent. Chimeze Metu, another guy with size. Trey Lyles. There's a lot of change here. And then you go deeper with like Harrison Barnes. But I'm talking more at the backup 5 spot.
Yeah.
They never trusted any of these guys, it seemed like, for the most part. I'm very curious to see what route they take headed into free agency to address the backup 5 spot.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we said at the beginning of this, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Wait and see. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We are dropping Kings and NBA content all year long. Appreciate you guys so much.